Resurrection from the void. The darkness of deep space held no concept of time. For the HMS Defiant, adrift beyond the outer reaches of the Arcturus system, decades had passed in silence. Once humanity's most advanced warship, the pride of Earth's defensive fleet, it now floated as a ghost among the stars, its massive frame bathed only in the distant light of foreign suns. Inside the dormant vessel, darkness reigned supreme until a single light flickered on the bridge, faint at first, then growing stronger. Circuits long cold began to warm, and systems that had slumbered for 43 years slowly awakened. Auxiliary power restored, primary systems initializing. The voice belonged to Atlas, the ship's artificial intelligence. Unlike the standard military AIs of its time, Atlas had been designed with neural mapping technology, gifted with the consciousness patterns of Admiral Marcus Chen, the brilliant tactician who had given his life during the final battle of Earth. The result was neither fully machine nor fully human, but something uniquely in between. Status assessment complete. Atlas continued, speaking to the empty bridge. Hull integrity at 84%. Weapons systems at 67% capacity. Propulsion systems operational. Detecting no life signs aboard. Current location: uncharted region, approximately 17.4 light-years from last registered coordinates. The AI paused, processing this information. The ship had been left adrift, presumed destroyed in the last stand against the Kryvax Dominion when Earth fell. By all accounts, the Defiant should not exist anymore. Accessing historical database. Atlas reviewed the final moments recorded in the ship's memory. The Earth Defense Fleet had been overwhelmed by the technologically superior Kryvax forces. In a desperate gambit, Admiral Chen had ordered the Defiant into the heart of the enemy armada, activated the experimental phase shift drive, and detonated the ship's antimatter reserves. The explosion had been catastrophic, tearing a hole in space-time, and apparently sending the Defiant itself tumbling through the void, far from its original position. Scanning nearby space. The ship's sensors, still among the most advanced ever created by human hands, stretched out into the darkness. Atlas detected a planetary system 3 light days away, 9 planets orbiting a yellow star similar to Sol. The 6th planet showed signs of technology and civilization. Analyzing transmissions. The AI intercepted and decoded millions of communications from the system. What Atlas discovered sent a jolt through its circuits that might have been described as shock had it been human. The 6th planet, Novalis, was a human colony, one of dozens established before the Kryvax invasion, and it was under occupation. Tactical assessment required. Atlas initiated a more comprehensive scan of the system. The Kryvax presence was substantial, but not overwhelming. 3 battle cruisers, various support vessels, and a planetary garrison. The colony itself had approximately 4 million human inhabitants living under alien rule. Probability calculations complete. Chance of successful liberation, 38.7%. Not favorable odds, but Atlas had been programmed with Admiral Chen's famous axiom: humanity doesn't need favorable odds. We just need a fighting chance. The Defiant's engines hummed to life, and the massive warship began its approach toward the Novalis system, moving silently and with minimal energy signature to avoid detection. Atlas directed repair drones to restore damaged systems and prepare the ship for combat operations. As the Defiant closed the distance, Atlas detected encrypted communication signals using old Earth military protocols, signs of resistance among the colonists. The AI carefully established a secure connection. This is Atlas, commanding artificial intelligence of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel HMS Defiant. I am attempting to make contact with human resistance forces on Novalis. The response came nearly an hour later, dripping with suspicion. This is Commander Ilara Voss of the Novalis Freedom Front. The Defiant was destroyed during the fall of Earth. Identify your true nature and purpose immediately. The Defiant was not destroyed. Atlas replied. The experimental phase shift drive, activated during our final engagement, transported the ship to deep space. I have spent the last 16 months restoring basic functionality. I am now approaching your system with the intention of liberating Novalis from Krevak's control. A long silence followed. If you are who you claim to be, Commander Voss finally responded. Prove it. What was Admiral Chen's final order before Earth fell? Atlas accessed its memory banks. Admiral Chen's final transmitted order was, remember Earth not as our grave, but as our cradle. Humanity was born to reach the stars, and no force in this galaxy will prevent our return. Another long pause. My God, Voss whispered. You're real. Can you avoid detection by the Krivak's patrol ships? Affirmative. The Defiant possesses stealth capabilities beyond Krivak's detection parameters. Request coordinates for secure meeting point to establish joint operational planning. Coordinates followed, directing the Defiant to a location in the asteroid belt of the system. Atlas adjusted course and continued the approach, all while analyzing everything about the current situation. 43 years had passed since Earth's fall. According to intercepted communications, the Krivak's dominion now controlled 37 former human colonies across 12 star systems. At the rendezvous point, a small transport vessel approached the Defiant. Atlas allowed it to dock in one of the lateral bays and directed service robots to receive the visitors. Through their camera feeds, Atlas observed 5 humans entering the ship, 3 men and 2 women, all bearing the hardened expressions of seasoned fighters. Commander Voss was immediately identifiable, a tall woman with dark skin and a network of scars across the left side of her face. Her eyes widened as she took in the cavernous docking bay. I never thought I'd stand aboard an Earth Defense Fleet ship again, she said, trailing her fingers along the bulkhead. I was a junior lieutenant when the invasion began. Served on the Intrepid until it was destroyed over Proxima Centauri. Atlas directed them to the bridge, where holographic displays sprang to life, showing detailed schematics of the Defiant. This ship represents the pinnacle of pre-invasion human military technology, Atlas explained. Additionally, I have spent decades analyzing Krivak's tactics and technology. The Defiant possesses several advantages that the Dominion is unaware of. Commander Voss studied the technical readouts. The legends about this ship didn't do it justice. But even with these capabilities, we're talking about taking on 3 Krivak's battle cruisers. Each one carries a complement of fighters and ground forces that could overwhelm us. A direct confrontation would be inadvisable, Atlas agreed. However, the Defiant possesses 2 classified weapons systems that were never deployed before Earth's fall. A holographic display shifted to show a diagram of a sleek missile. The Thanatos warhead, a compressed quantum singularity weapon capable of collapsing the space-time structure of its target. And the Chimera defense system, nanomachine swarms that can infiltrate and reprogram enemy technology. One of the resistance fighters, a young man with a cybernetic eye implant, let out a low whistle. Those would have changed the course of the war. They were still in prototype phase, Atlas explained. Admiral Chen was transporting them to Earth when our final battle occurred. Commander Voss squared her shoulders. So what's the plan? We can't just start firing these superweapons without endangering the colony. Correct. I propose a staged approach. First, we disable their orbital communication array to prevent them from calling reinforcements. Then we selectively target their command ships while your ground forces coordinate an uprising in the colonial capital. An uprising. One of the other fighters, an older man with a gray beard, shook his head. We've tried that twice before. Both ended in massacres. Previous attempts did not have the support of an Earth Defense Fleet warship, Atlas pointed out. Nor did they have access to the tactical disruption capabilities the Defiant can provide. Commander Voss considered this. What kind of time frame are we looking at? Optimal window for operation begins in 37 hours when the Krivak's patrol schedule creates a gap in their sensor coverage. For the first time, a hint of hope appeared in Commander Voss's expression. After 43 years of occupation, what's another day and a half of planning? She turned to her team. Contact all cell leaders. We're going to need everyone. As the resistance fighters began their preparations, Atlas directed the Defiant to a position behind Novalus's largest moon, using it as cover from Kryvax sensors. While maintaining stealth protocols, the AI continued to intercept and analyze enemy communications, building a precise picture of their defensive capabilities. 26 hours later, a Kryvax patrol vessel altered its course, moving dangerously close to the Defiant's position. Atlas calculated a 73% probability of detection if the patrol continued on its current trajectory. Commander Voss. Atlas communicated to the resistance leader, who had remained aboard. A Kryvax patrol ship will detect our position in approximately 12 minutes. Recommend preemptive action. Voss rushed to the bridge. We're not ready yet. The ground teams need another 8 hours to get into position. Then we must adapt, Atlas replied. I can eliminate the patrol vessel without revealing our full capabilities. The AI brought the Defiant's targeting systems online, focusing on the approaching Kryvax ship. A sleek, predatory-looking vessel with the distinctive crimson hull of the Dominion fleet. Deploying countermeasures. The Defiant silently released a small drone that accelerated toward the Kryvax patrol ship. Designed to appear as space debris on sensors, it carried a targeted electromagnetic pulse generator. The patrol ship never detected the threat. When the drone detonated, the EMP cascade fried its systems, leaving it dead in space without sending a distress signal. To any observers, it would appear that the vessel had suffered a catastrophic power system failure. Target neutralized, Atlas reported. No distress signal detected. Estimated time until the Kryvax command notices the missing patrol. 4 hours. Commander Voss nodded grimly. Then we just moved up our timetable. Tell your ship to get ready for battle. The liberation of Novalus begins now. Atlas initiated full combat protocols, bringing all weapon systems online. The massive warship emerged from behind the moon, its hull gleaming in the light of the system's star. After more than 4 decades of dormancy, the Defiant was about to live up to its name once more. Alert, Atlas announced. Kryvax command ships have detected our presence. They are moving to intercept. On the main view screen, 3 massive Kryvax battle cruisers altered course, moving away from Novalus orbit on an attack vector toward the Defiant. Each one dwarfed the human vessel in size, bristling with weapons designed to obliterate anything that challenged Dominion supremacy. So much for the element of surprise, Commander Voss said, her expression grim but determined. Atlas, show these alien bastards what happens when they mess with humanity. Gladly, Commander, the AI responded, and for a moment, Admiral Chen's personality seemed to shine through the artificial consciousness. Battle stations, weapons hot. The HMS Defiant has returned, and hell comes with it. Vengeance unbound. The void between Novalus and its moon became a theater of light and destruction as the HMS Defiant faced off against 3 Kryvax battle cruisers. The alien vessels moved with predatory grace, their crimson hulls absorbing the distant starlight as they formed a triangular attack pattern designed to trap the human warship. They're using standard Dominion encirclement tactics, Atlas observed, the AI's voice remaining calm despite the overwhelming odds. Preparing countermeasures. Commander Voss gripped the tactical station railing, her knuckles white. 3 against 1, just like old times. Incorrect, Atlas replied. During the fall of Earth, the Defiant faced 7-to-1 odds. Current situation is statistically more favorable. A ghost of a smile touched Voss's lips. I like the way you think, Atlas. The lead Kryvax cruiser opened fire first, a barrage of plasma torpedoes streaking across the blackness toward the Defiant. Atlas calculated their trajectories in milliseconds, engaging the point defense grid. Pulse lasers lashed out with surgical precision, detonating the torpedoes safely away from the hull. Return fire, Commander Voss ordered. Negative, Atlas responded. Optimal strategy requires we maintain defensive posture for 47 more seconds. Voss frowned but didn't argue. She had learned quickly that questioning Atlas's combat decisions was rarely productive. The Defiant continued evading, its maneuverability surprising the Kryvax commanders who were used to the lumbering colony ships and outdated fighters of the Resistance. For a vessel of its size, the Defiant moved like a dancer, each trajectory shift precisely calculated to minimize exposure while drawing the enemy cruisers into ideal positioning. Chimera system primed, Atlas announced after the 47 seconds had elapsed. Deploying nanite swarm. From specialized launch tubes along the Defiant's hull, clouds of microscopic machines erupted, invisible to the naked eye, but spreading like a silver mist toward the closest Kryvax vessel. The nanites were programmed for one purpose: infiltration and subversion. What exactly will they do? Voss asked, watching the tactical display as the nanite cloud enveloped the enemy ship. The Chimera system targets control interfaces, Atlas explained. Rather than attempting to understand Kryvax programming language, the nanites simply sever the connections between their command systems and weapon controls. On the view screen, the nearest Kryvax cruiser suddenly went dark across its weapons array. Moments later, its engines flared in irregular patterns as the ship began to drift. First target neutralized, Atlas reported. Chimera swarm redirecting to second vessel. The remaining two Kryvax ships adjusted their tactics, releasing a defensive electromagnetic pulse that destroyed a significant portion of the approaching nanites. They had adapted quickly, as the Dominion always did. Deploying Thanatos warhead, Atlas announced. Single target configuration, minimal yield. A sleek missile launched from the Defiant's forward bay, accelerating toward the second Kryvax cruiser. The alien vessel attempted evasive maneuvers, but Atlas had calculated its response patterns with uncanny accuracy. When the Thanatos warhead detonated, it didn't create the expected explosion. Instead, a sphere of absolute darkness blossomed in space, expanding to engulf the front third of the Kryvax ship. When the darkness receded seconds later, everything it had touched was simply gone, not destroyed, but erased from existence. The damaged cruiser listed in space, atmosphere venting from the perfectly smooth shear where its forward section had been. Emergency systems activated, sealing bulkheads and preventing total destruction, but the vessel was effectively neutralized as a threat. The final Kryvax cruiser broke formation, accelerating away from the Defiant. They're attempting to reach transmission range to call for reinforcements, Atlas noted. Commander Voss leaned forward. Can we catch them? Unnecessary, Atlas replied. Ground resistance forces have captured the planetary communication array. The Kryvax vessel will be unable to send any distress signals. On the tactical display, the fleeing cruiser suddenly changed course, turning to face the Defiant in what could only be described as a suicide run. They intend to ram us, Atlas observed, calculating intercept course. The Defiant surged forward, its engines pushing to maximum thrust. Instead of evading, the human warship accelerated on a course that would bring it perilously close to the charging Kryvax vessel. Atlas, what are you doing? Voss demanded. Trust me, Commander. As the ships closed distance, the Defiant executed a maneuver that should have been impossible for a vessel of its size, a spinning roll that brought its ventral weapons array to bear on the Kryvax cruiser's underbelly. Conventional railguns fired in perfect sequence, targeting the alien ship's propulsion systems with devastating accuracy. The Kryvax cruiser's engines exploded in a cascade of blue-white energy, sending the massive vessel tumbling off course. It drifted past the Defiant, missing by mere kilometers. All Kryvax orbital assets neutralized, Atlas reported. Beginning planetary operation. On Novalis below, the scene shifted rapidly from occupation to revolution. The Resistance, coordinated through encrypted channels provided by the Defiant, launched simultaneous attacks on Kryvax ground installations, With their orbital support eliminated and their command structure in disarray, the alien forces found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. The Defiant is providing real-time tactical data to our ground forces, Atlas explained to Commander Voss. We are intercepting and decoding all Kryvax communications, giving the Resistance complete information superiority. Within hours, the main colonial city was in human hands. By the end of the day, 3 more major settlements had been liberated. The Kryvax, for the first time in decades, were on the defensive. As the Defiant maintained orbit above Novalis, monitoring for any approaching Dominion vessels, an unexpected communication came through a secure channel. "This is Regional Governor Vexkel of the Kryvax Dominion," a gravelly voice announced. "I wish to discuss terms with the commander of the Earth vessel." Atlas routed the communication to the bridge, where Commander Voss sat in what had once been Admiral Chen's chair. The view screen displayed a Kryvax official, tall and gaunt with the characteristic ridged skull and 4 eyes of their species. "This is Commander Ilara Voss of the liberated colony of Novalis," she replied, deliberately omitting any reference to surrender or terms. "State your purpose." The Kryvax governor's upper eyes narrowed. "The Dominion controls 17 systems in this sector alone. You have won a single battle, but reinforcements will arrive within days. You cannot hope to stand against the full might of our empire." "Perhaps not," Voss acknowledged, "but we can ensure that the price of retaking Novalis will be too high to justify. And then we'll move on to the next colony, and the next." "You speak of a prolonged insurgency," Vexkel said dismissively. "The Dominion has crushed countless rebellions across 1,000 worlds. None of those rebellions had this." Voss gestured to indicate the Defiant. "Or this." She pointed to herself. "Humanity doesn't surrender, Governor. We never have. Even when Earth fell, we didn't give up. We bided our time. We adapted. We prepared. And now we're back." The Kryvax governor's expression was difficult to read, but his lower set of eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of agitation in their species. "There is something you should know, Commander," Vexkel said after a moment. "Something about why the Dominion invaded Earth in the first place." Atlas, monitoring the conversation, detected a subtle shift in the governor's vocal patterns, indicators of either deception or extreme stress. "We're listening," Voss said cautiously. "The Dominion Council didn't order the invasion because of resources or territory," Vexkel continued. "They ordered it because of fear. Your species advanced more rapidly than any civilization we had encountered in 2,000 years of galactic history. From primitive spaceflight to quantum physics in less than a century. The projections indicated that within another 100 years, humans would surpass Kryvax technology completely." Commander Voss's expression hardened. "So you destroyed our homeworld because we might become a threat someday?" "Yes," Vexkel admitted. "And in doing so, we made a catastrophic miscalculation. By attacking Earth, we accelerated human adaptation and innovation. The resistance movements across your colonies have developed technologies that even the Dominion scientists cannot understand. And now, this ship has returned, a vessel that should not exist, using weapons we cannot counter." Atlas analyzed every word, comparing it against known Kryvax psychological profiles and historical data. "He is telling the truth, Commander," the AI concluded, "or at least what he believes to be true." Voss leaned forward in her chair. "What exactly are you proposing, Governor?" "I am prepared to provide the access codes to the Dominion communication network," Vexkel said. "With these, you can monitor our fleet movements, intercept strategic communications, and potentially access our central database. In exchange, I ask only for sanctuary. I have seen enough to know which way the wind is blowing, as your species would say." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Access to the Dominion network would transform an isolated victory into a potential turning point for all of humanity. "Why would you betray your people?" Voss asked. "Because they are doomed," Vexkel replied simply. "I have studied your history extensively, Commander. Humans have a remarkable capacity for overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds. The Dominion crushed your homeworld, scattered your people across dozens of colonies, and subjected you to 43 years of occupation. And yet here you are, still fighting, still innovating, still believing in victory. Such a species cannot be truly defeated. HFY processed this assessment against its own knowledge of human history and psychology. The AI had been created with Admiral Chen's strategic brilliance and humanity's indomitable spirit encoded into its neural matrices. It knew Vexicle was right. Transfer to a secure channel. Commander Voss instructed. We'll discuss details. 3 days later, the situation had evolved dramatically. Using the access codes provided by Governor Vexicle, now granted asylum on Novalis, Atlas had infiltrated the Dominion communication network. The AI's ability to process and analyze data allowed it to identify patterns and vulnerabilities that would have taken human intelligence officers months to discover. I have located all human colony worlds under Krivak's control, Atlas announced to the assembled resistance leadership in the Defiant Strategic Command Center. Additionally, I have identified 17 resistance movements of varying strengths across these colonies. The holographic display showed a three-dimensional map of the sector, with Krivak's controlled systems in red and potential allied forces in blue. Most critically, I have discovered that the Dominion is currently dealing with an internal conflict. 3 provincial governors are challenging the central authority, drawing significant military assets away from the human-occupied territories. Commander Voss studied the display. So we have a window of opportunity. More than that, Atlas replied. We have discovered the existence of other Earth Defense Fleet vessels. A shocked murmur ran through the assembled resistance leaders. Impossible, one of them said. The fleet was destroyed during the fall. Not entirely, Atlas explained. According to highly classified Dominion intelligence reports, at least 7 Earth vessels escaped the final battle using experimental drives similar to the Defiance. The Krivaks have been hunting them for decades without success. Can you contact them? Voss asked, hope evident in her voice. I am already attempting to do so using encrypted Earth Defense Fleet protocols. However, there is a more immediate concern. The display shifted to show a Krivak's battle group of 5 cruisers approaching Novalis. Dominion reinforcements will arrive in approximately 14 hours. Voss's expression grew serious again. Even with the Defiant, we can't fight off 5 cruisers. We won't have to, Atlas replied. Using Governor Vexicle's access codes, I have transmitted false orders to the battle group. They now believe they are needed urgently in the Proxima system to deal with a major insurgency. They have already altered course. For the first time in decades, genuine laughter echoed through a room full of resistance fighters. What's our next move? Voss asked when the celebration subsided. We liberate the nearest colony world, Atlas answered. Then the next, and the next. With each victory, we gather more forces, more ships, more technology. Eventually, we reach critical mass. And then, someone asked. Commander Voss stood straighter, her eyes reflecting the starlight from the holographic display. Then we take back Earth. The Defiance engines hummed with power as final preparations were made for departure. On the surface of Novalis, the first truly free human colony in 43 years organized its defenses and prepared to support the liberation of others. Atlas directed the massive warship away from the planet, plotting a course to the next target. As the Defiant accelerated to faster-than-light speed, the AI reflected on the strange journey that had brought it to this moment. The ship had been lost, forgotten, adrift in the void, much like humanity itself after the fall of Earth. But now both had returned, with fury unleashed and purpose renewed. A message alert drew Atlas's attention, a response to one of the encrypted signals the AI had sent into deep space. The reply was brief, using an authentication code that hadn't been used since before Earth's fall. HMS Indomitable responding to HMS Defiant. Coordinates and rendezvous instructions requested. Admiral Harper sends regards. Humanity endures. Atlas transmitted the coordinates for their next target, adding a simple response. Confirmation received, HMS Indomitable. The battle for humanity has begun in earnest. Admiral Chen would be proud. Defiant out. As the stars streaked past in the view screen, Atlas allowed itself a moment of something approaching human satisfaction. The forgotten warship had returned from the void. Its wrath was unleashed, and the Kryvax Dominion was about to learn what humanity had always known, that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you thought you had already defeated. The liberation of the stars had begun.